everyone, Meg here from IT Stamping and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be making a card that looks yummy enough to eat. So let me show you this one right here. I love this project. I love having the little jars for it and the colored in candies and the ribbon and the little scallop. There's so many details going on with this project and I can't wait to teach you how to make all of them. So if you like this card, before we go any further and you haven't subscribed to my channel and you like this style, make sure you hit that red button right now so that you don't forget to later. All right, let's take a moment and review our supplies. So let's start with our cardstock. I've got 2 scratch pieces of white cardstock. They just need to be big enough to hold your stamps. And then I've got 2 pieces of white that are going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Then I have our card base, which is Gorgeous Grape, 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and I scored it at 5 1/2. Then I have a piece of Melon Mambo that's going to be 1 1/2 inches by 4 inches. And then a piece of Pineapple Punch that's longer than it needs to be right now. We're going to trim it up later on, and you'll see why we're going to do that later. But it's just a scratch piece. You want it to be at least 4 inches long and at least 1/2 inch tall. Then we're going to be using our Sweetest Things photopolymer stamp sets. Let me show you that. That's on page 15 of the Stampin' Up! Occasions catalog. So we'll be using this stamp set right here as well as the framelits. We'll also be using the ribbon. It's a double-sided ribbon. I'm going to show you a trick with that. So here's the ribbon right here. The other thing, oops, let me bring this back in, that we'll be using is one of my favorite dies in this entire catalog. And I didn't even know it was there when I ordered it. It was such a happy accident. So it's in the Be Mine Stitched Framelits dies on page 6 of the Occasions catalog. And this long die right here is one of, like I said, one of my favorites. So it's just a long die and it's got scallops on one end and stitching across the other. And it's an edgelet, so that means it only cuts one side, not the other. So you can put it anywhere on your cardstock and it's just going to cut off that scalloped edge. All right, so we have some ink pads. We're going to be using the Memento Tuxedo Black, Coastal Cabana, Gorgeous Grape, and then the only other thing I haven't talked about is our markers. So we have our markers, our adhesive, and then an embossing folder, the subtle embossing folder. So as you can tell, a lot going on with this project, but don't worry, I'm going to walk you through it step by step. So I'm going to move all this out of the way and we're going to start with our stamping. For our stamping, I'm going to start with our biggest jar first. I'm going to stamp this onto just an extra piece of white cardstock in Gorgeous Grape ink. Because this is a photopolymer stamp, I like to go ahead and wash them right away on my chamois. They're still going to stain, but they just won't stain as bad. So we have that done, and then let's go ahead and do our Coastal Cabana jar. So this is the tall one, again, just on a scratch piece of white. Just needs to be big enough to hold your stamp and your die. And we'll wash that. Now we're ready to bring in our Memento. I have a couple of different candies that we're going to be using. One of them is going to be our adorable little gummy bears. I love gummy bears. Yum, yum, yum. All right, so we have that, and then our little candies. So I'm just going to fill my jar. It's kind of all different angles here. Ta-da! Then I'm going to take one of the pieces that we talked about at the beginning, the one that's 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, or one of them, I should have said. And I'm going to take these candies. I'm just going to stamp along the bottom edge. There we go. Now we're ready to wash that one. And then all we have left to stamp is our sentiment. So I'm going to grab the other piece of white cardstock that's 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Move these out of the way, and I'm just going to use my pink as a guide. This is extra long on purpose too. You'll see why when we get to that point. Actually, let me transition down to my grid paper. This is just going to be a placeholder. Later on it will go on the card, but that way I know that I'm getting this stamped straight on my project. There we go. Actually, I just shifted it. There we go. That's going to be close enough. I'm going to bring back in my Coastal Cabana and my Happy Birthday. And we're stamped just above that and to the right. There we go. All right, now it is time to move all this out of the way and bring in the big shot. We're going to be spraying our Melon Mambo cardstock with rubbing alcohol and lining it up in this subtle embossing folder. So the reason I'm spraying it with rubbing alcohol is it dries quickly. That's why this over water. But then the other reason is because this is one of our thick embossing folders. It can cause your cardstock to crack and not look the way you want it to. So a quick spray of rubbing alcohol and a Stampin' Mister and you're set. So we just ran this through, one plate on top. And then here is our Melon Mambo. It's still very wet. We're gonna set it aside and let it dry. Then I'm gonna change over to my magnetic platform and we will do all of our die cutting. Oh, I need to flip. All right, so we're gonna start with our jars. And you can color your candies in first if you would prefer, but I prefer to die cut mine just in case I mess up on the die cutting, then I haven't wasted all my coloring time. And I'm gonna do this jar. And then that scrap of pineapple punch in this die here, I'm gonna run it through on an angle. And remember, if you're fighting with your magnets are going to win. So move your cardstock. And it doesn't matter if that goes on straight or not because we're gonna be trimming off the edges anyway. So take this plate on top. And away we go. Once we're done with our die cutting, we're going to have our yellow. Look at that. I love how it's got the stitching at the bottom above our little scallop. And then we die cut out our jar and our candy. Look at that with our gummy bears. All right, so now what's left is coloring and assembly. I have an assortment of markers. I'll name off the colors as we go through them. And I'm going to start with my gorgeous grape. And I'm going to do my gummy bear on the left. And of course, you can make your gummy bears whatever color you want. So we have that one. I'm not going to do one in this jar because there really wasn't room for 5 and I stamped my jar in grape. So instead I'm going to do my candy on the sides. I'm going to move on to Melon Mambo. Next we have Granny Apple Green. Coastal Cabana. And Pineapple Punch. Alright, so now our coloring is done. All we have left to do is assemble. And if you like the way I've taught you how to make this project step by step, please take a moment and be sure to subscribe to my channel. Alright, let's do this. So I'm going to start with the inside piece. And I'm going to add my adhesive to the back. And put our little candies on the inside. Then on the front, we're going to bring in our happy birthday and our now dry embossed Melon Mambo. And across one edge of it, I'm going to add adhesive. I'm just going to line this up. Now, I'm the type of person that likes to have the same amount of scallop on each side of my cardstock. So I don't want to have half a scallop on one end and then, you know, all of a scallop on the other end. It just kind of drives me nuts. So that's why I prefer to cut mine a little bit longer. And I did the same with the Melon Mambo. And the reason for the Melon Mambo, so let me get this in place first. There we go. Hang on, let's try again to put that actually on there straight. Let me use my grid paper. Anytime I try to do it on an angle, never works out. But I don't like it when I've cut my cardstock and it's just a little bit too short on one side because then you can see the white layers below it. If you'll just cut your cardstock to be just a smidge bigger, there's not that much being wasted going in the trash bin, and it'll make you really happy with the final results of your card. So we're just going to trim off the excess there. Now we're going to bring in our ribbon. So this is a double-sided ribbon. It has Coastal Cabana as well as Granny Apple Green. And you can choose whatever color that you want. I'm going to take mine, just cut it a little bit longer. Because I stamped my jar in blue and stamped my happy birthday in blue, I want it to go like this. So I want adhesive on the coastal side. That's why I wanted the granny apple on top. Wrap this around and this around, and then in just a moment I'm going to show you how to tie a bow where we just see that granny apple and not the coastal cabana. Oh, I think my glue dot was stayed on the roll. We'll use this for right now. There we go. We're going to take all of this and put it onto our card front. So now I'm going to show you how you can use double-sided ribbon and tie a bow with just one color of the ribbon showing. So I'm going to be using the 10-second bow maker. And when you order the 10-second bow maker, there's going to be videos that go a lot slower than what I'm doing right now that'll walk you through exactly how to do this. It's just a couple turns of the wrist and the ribbon. Let me double check, make sure it all looks good. I'm happy with the results. I'm going to pull that off. See, look, we just have the green showing. I'm going to give it a trim and give it a trim. I can change the tails here in a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and add this to my card because that's going to give me the spacing for my jars and how they're going to be placed. So just a glue dot. This is going to go over here on top of our green ribbon. Just going to fluff up our bows just a bit there. And then we're going to add our jars with dimensionals. Dimensionals are just a double-sided foam adhesive. They cost about a penny a piece, so I feel confident going wild with them. So we'll start with our bigger jar, and I'm going to actually set it underneath. I have to pay attention to my wording, but it's going to go underneath my bow. And then we'll have this jar here. And on this one, I'm just going to have adhesive on the right side here. When we go to flip it over, it's going to not be on top of that other jar. So it's on the left side when we flip it over. But if I put it on both sides, then it'll be all wonky. And we don't want that. And just like that, our card is done. So let's take a look at this. We have our happy birthday sentiment, our gummy bears, our little wrapped candies. We have our dry embossed melon mambo along with that stitched scallop at the bottom. Then when we open it up, we have our candy treats on the inside as well. See what I mean? It's a card that looks yummy enough to eat. So I hope you enjoyed today's project. If you have any questions about it, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments below for me. Thank you again for watching. As I said before, if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you feel like you like this project, be sure to hit the red button for me. And be sure to share this video with your friends. Again, thanks for watching. I'm Meg from IT Stamping, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.